What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited checking out Hogswallow from Wicked Clever. This is for 2 to 6 players. Ages, I'd say, 4 plus. It'll take about 20 to 60 minutes to play. And in Hogswallow, this is a very abstract storytelling card game in which you can play numerous different game modes where essentially you're going to be laying down these very abstracted cards and trying to tell stories either competitively, cooperatively, or just for fun. Is it good, though? Let's open it up, and I'll tell you what I think about it. Alrighty then, so we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Hogswallow. Before we get started, I do want to mention it comes in this nice little drawstring bag. This is a very, very well-made drawstring bag, so that's pretty cool if you're into bags. So first and foremost, we have our handy-dandy rule booklet. It's really one page, double-sided, and it's pretty well done. It should have you up and running in no time at all, and there's actually just 3 different variants that they recommend you try out, but they say in the beginning you can play however you want to play. You can modify rules however you want to modify rules. So I'm just going to be giving you a brief overview of one of the game modes, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the other 2 game modes. But first, let's get to the star of the show, which is this deck of cards, which are going to have somewhat abstracted pictures of various different things. Now, some of them are pretty obvious, tree, fire, but some of them you're like, this could be this if I turned it a different way. And you might notice that there are some repeats. That's generally only of wind, air, water, and fire, I believe the 4 are. And I'll talk to you more about that in the pros and the cons. So the first one is called High Hogswallow. Everybody's going to get 3 cards, and then you're pretty much just going to create a story. You're going to take turns laying down one of your cards and continuing a story, and you must continue the story based on how other people have made it. So if someone were to say make this a hollowed out tree that someone turned into a canoe, then this is always a canoe. No matter what you do to it, it's going to be a canoe. And the next person say, the dog was on the canoe, and they were taking a magical journey so they could get over the river and, learn how to talk. And he had to fight off some barbarians with his axe. And you keep going until the game, how does the game put it? Until you have come to a satisfying conclusion, at which point the game is over. So this one is obviously not that competitive. However, there are 2 other versions of the game. There's Low Hogswallow, which is actually like a poker version of the game where you're going to have, a 5-card hand, and you can play Texas Hold'em, you can play stud, you can play draw, however you want to do it. But then you're going to try and put together the best story, and you're all going to vote on who has the best story. And you're actually going to bet on who you think has the best story. And if everybody agrees you have the best story, then you win the bet. And the last one is actually where the elements come into play, because you might notice that there were more than 1 element, whereas every other card is unique. And this one is actually just kind of you're going to deal 5 cards to each player, and then you're only going to play 1 card, and you're trying to beat the other player's cards. And when the elements get played, it's kind of like water beats fire, fire beats wood, or trees beats wind. It's a very simplified game. I'll tell you what I think about them in the pros and cons, but that, in a nutshell, is how the very abstract and free-form game of Hogswallow is played. Alrighty then, Hogswallow from Wicked Clever. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the pro side, I do like the drawstring bag. It is very well made, and if you like this and you really enjoy it, this is definitely not going to get, ripped or torn or anything like that. Very nice bag. The cards are decent quality. I like the fact that the cards are abstracted, so you can make up different stories with different things in the cards, and you might flip them this way, and they might be a little bit different. I wish they were actually a little bit more abstracted, actually, but that's not a big deal. Also, there's 3 different variants that come in the game, and you can make up your own different variants, which is nice. So if you enjoy the game, you're going to get a lot of legs out of it. It's storytelling, and I brought it in my classroom. The kids liked it. They weren't crazy about it. They didn't like it like they like Rory's Story Cubes or some of the other storytelling things I've brought into the classroom, but they enjoyed it. Now, moving on to the con side, I really have a hard time recommending Hogswallow, and there's a couple reasons why. First, this is aimed at people who role play, and I have a very vivid imagination. Obviously, I work with kids. I have kids of my own, and I've role played once or twice in my life, but I'm not a role player, so take that for what you will. But the main reasons why I don't like this game are, first and foremost, the variants they include in the game are pretty lame. Like, the poker one is just dumb. I didn't like that at all. We tried it out, and we're like, this is stupid. Let's play something else. I also didn't like the one where you only laid down 1 card. I wasn't a fan of that. And then the other one is just common sense. You're just going around the table making a story. Now, the main problem that I have with this game, though, is yes, I wish the cards were a little bit more abstracted, but the fact that there's 4 of the water, the fire, the tree, and the air. Now, I understand that they put 4 of those in there because they wanted to make the third game that I talked about, which was it, what was the name of it? The dilly down. They wanted to make the dilly down feasible, so they had to have 4 of each. But by doing that, you were essentially taking 1/4 of the deck and saying all these cards are the same. And when you do that, that's going to neuter the potential you have to make creative stories, because you're going to run into fire, and then you're going to run into fire. Then maybe later on in the story, guess what? You're going to run into more fire. And the same thing with the wind, and same thing with the water, and same thing with the trees. And I just would have liked this game a lot better instead of taking those 12 cards. Making those 12 cards and making them unique cards. You don't need 4 of each of those to make that stupid dilly down version of the game. And that really is what killed me, because when we were doing the storytelling with the kids, they had fun with it. And I think your kids will have some fun with it too. But they kept coming back to the same cards, because you go through the cards really quickly, especially when you're playing with young children, because they don't add too much to the story, so you can be playing through a lot of cards. Also, obviously on the con side, it's a storytelling game. There's no real strategy here. It's not overly competitive. And I don't know. It's okay. That's about the best recommendation I can give it to you. But recommending it to people, I don't know who I would recommend this game to. Like, that's what I always try to think of when I do these reviews. Who do I think would really like this game? And compared to a bunch of other story games, I can't recommend this one. I would much rather go out and get Rory's Story Cubes, because then you're going to get, 9 dice with 6 sides. So that's 54, you're essentially getting 54 cards by getting those story cubes. But with that game, you don't have 12 of them that you don't need that could be something different. So overall, Hogswallow, not a fan of this one. Definitely a hard pass for me. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, coffee or energy drink, which do you prefer? For me personally, it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm up for the coffee, sometimes I want the energy drink. I feel like when I'm super duper tired, I want energy drinks, and when I'm only a little bit tired, I want the coffee. But let me know in the comments below, what do you think? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.